Hey, this is attorney Elizabeth Potts-Weinstein, and today we're going to talk about the 5 biggest mistakes people make when starting a brand new business. So I've helped hundreds of businesses get started, and some of them were successful and some of them ran into a bunch of problems. Some of them didn't ever even launch or sell any products or services. So what is the difference? Number one, the first big mistake that people make when starting a new business is they spend all kinds of time setting up the business. Could be getting a new website, it could be branding, it could be paying a lawyer to do the LLC, like all this infrastructure for their business. And they don't spend time selling something. Just launching some service or product, this initial service or product, to test it and see if it works. Does anybody buy it? Do you like delivering that product or service? Is it marketable? It's great to set your business up and do things right. But if you do that without first or at the same time testing out your product or service, you may end up spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on setting up a business that doesn't work. I highly recommend you do this kind of minimal version of the setup of your business so you can just launch that first product or service and see what happens. If it sells, if you start making money, then you go invest time and energy in setting everything up. But first you see, is this business viable from a making money perspective? Number 2 is very much a legal issue. A big mistake that new business owners make is they don't actually sign the contracts or agreements they create. They have a partnership agreement with their business partners. They create an operating agreement for their LLC. They have a joint venture agreement with another business. They have a contract with a business to create their app or their website, but no one actually signs or finalizes the agreement at all. This is terrible. You might as well not have even done it, okay? It's going to be very, very difficult to enforce that agreement unless you've actually finalized it and signed it. I've seen people spend 5 figures, tens of thousands of dollars working with someone, and there was no signed contract, and the app never got delivered, and very little can be done. When you go into business with people, either as business partners or joint venture partners or someone you hire to do something, have a written agreement. You want to know who owns the intellectual property, who owns the app they're creating, who owns the website, all that stuff, because if something goes wrong, you need to have that in writing. And that leads us into number 3, which is the mistake of not actually owning your stuff. You may hire a web designer to create a website for you, to get the domain name, to set everything up, to arrange for hosting, and you don't actually have a password or the admin access or any of the real information for that domain name or that website, and then all of a sudden that guy disappears. What are you going to do? You can't even access your website on the back end. You don't actually have the domain name yourself. You may have spent a lot of time and energy on branding, but you don't own any of it. Who owns the copyrights over the content that was created or the design? You may pay for a logo, but you can't trademark the logo because you don't actually have the right intellectual property rights over that design, so it is trademarkable. This is something that you want to make sure you have control over, that you have control over it from, you have an admin login and password for your website, for whatever else, for your app, whatever it is that gets created. And also make sure that you know how the intellectual property rights work. It may be that you own it outright, it may be that you have a license to it. Neither of those are right or wrong, but you need to know what you paid for. So if they disappear, if something goes wrong with your relationship with them, you don't lose access to everything that you paid to have created. Mistake number 4 is spending too much time on stuff that doesn't matter. So let me give you a very specific example. I can't tell you how often I have a client where they are paying me to form their LLC and set up their business, and they can't decide on the name of their LLC, and we literally go back and forth for months. Now, obviously, you want to spend a little bit of time on picking the name. You want to make sure you're not violating someone else's trademark. But fundamentally, the name of your LLC can be any gosh darn thing as long as it's not already taken. You can always create a DBA, a fictitious business name, for the branding of your business. The LLC's name, the legal name of the business, does not need to be the same as your branding. So you can just make the LLC be some kind of holding company name. It could be Potts Weinstein Media Enterprises, LLC. And then for your brands, you have DBAs. Do that on the fly as you change up your branding. Don't get stuck by decisions that aren't really important and things that can be changed easily in the future. Number 5 is designing a business that doesn't actually pay you. So often I have clients who are so passionate about this business, about helping people, about building something great, that the way they price their products and services, the way they hire staff, they do it in a way where they don't factor in paying themselves. There's part of our kind of startup culture where the founder is supposed to like work for free forever and then get a big payoff at the end or something. I don't really exactly understand what the theory of that is. Number 1, you can only do that if you're privileged and someone else is paying your bills in some way, shape, or form. But number 2, that doesn't really make any sense. You, as the founder who is working in the business, should be getting paid before random other people get paid. You want to factor in you getting paid into the financial structure of your business. In the beginning, maybe it's a tiny amount. When I first started this law firm, while I did pay myself in the beginning, I paid every week, did payroll every week, and some weeks it was like I only had like $20 to pay myself. Like there just wasn't any profit in the business yet in the beginning. But I created this routine that every week, which could be every month, it could be every quarter, but some regular routine to look at my business and see how much can I pay myself based on how much profit there is right now, based on how much cash there is right now. And then as time goes on, you'll get to a point where you can just pay yourself a salary. Paying yourself a salary isn't wrong or unethical. It's a good thing. It means your business is healthy and you should be getting paid for the work that you do. I've had clients where they were paying employees a full-time salary, a full-time market salary, and they were paying themselves nothing. That makes sense for an emergency situation, like when in 2020 I had a time period where I didn't pay myself for a little bit because I could float that personally and I wanted to keep the business from going under, and it was taking a while for the PPP money and stuff to come. But besides an extreme situation like that, or if you lose the hugest client or something like that happens, otherwise you should be getting paid too. And your business isn't actually profitable unless you're also getting paid for the work that you do. And fundamentally, if you're not getting paid, you're not going to be able to do this forever. So might as well factor that in from day one into your plan. Again, this is attorney Elizabeth Potts Weinstein. If you have any questions about what we talked about today, feel free to post them below in the comments and I'll try to point you in the right direction. Thumbs up if you found this video helpful, and subscribe if you'd like more tips for small business owners and startups. Talk to you later.